right?
That would be great. Yeah, for
Okay.
this one.
I'll start that over then. Hello, everyone. I'm Keith Bamberger, and I want to welcome everybody to the fourth Blue Horizons Community Council meeting. At the last meeting, I was chosen to be chair, so I will be trying to run the meeting today. I do want to start by thanking Sam and Sophie for getting us up and running these meetings for the last several months, for Bridget for taking notes and everything they're doing to help us achieve our goals. My goal during these meetings is to just have a good conversation about the things which can help us move towards that 100% reductions by 2040. And so it is an open discussion, though with every meeting, it's always really helpful if you mute and unmute yourself quickly when needed. And it'd be great if the committee members could, well, use your camera so we can see your faces if you have a camera. You don't have to. Another thought that I'd have, that if we start talking about things, please use the chat box to put comments in, to put reminders in. And if you have any links to share, it'd be great to put those in there because we'll be able to get those out later. It'll be really helpful for us all. I want to also talk about, just put a little bit out about our, well, actually, if we'll go ahead and have our members, if we could go and just introduce yourself. If there's something interesting which has happened since our last meeting, just kind of mention that, things that you've observed or seen. And I will go ahead and start. I'm Keith Bamberger. My day job is with the Division of Air Quality. And one of the things which is coming up with the Division of Air Quality is we're working with a multi-state group to really emphasize replacing all the purchasing of medium and heavy duty vehicles that are purchased with electric and other clean vehicles. And I think the goal on that is 100% of new purchases by 2030, which is really exciting. Mike Abrazinskis, the director of the Division of Air Quality, is on that steering committee, and I'm looking forward to learning a lot more about it from him as these details arise. I also think since our last meeting, we have a new member, Chris Perline. Am I saying that correctly, Chris?
Thanks, Keith. Pelrine is
So
the pronunciation.
If you could just give us a brief introduction. We've all kind of met each other in the last meetings.
Sure. Well, good afternoon. My name is Chris Pelrine. I'm on SACE, and professionally, I'm an energy and sustainability director for a real estate services company, servicing right now a client with 12 million square feet across 1,800 locations. Currently dealing with a ton of Texas related issues at the moment. So I'm going to be multitasking throughout this call, but that's me in a nutshell. And it's great to be here.
Great, thank you. If other people on the committee could just jump in, that'd be great.
Sure.
Oh, sorry, David.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, everyone. I'm Eliza Stokes. I am the organizer and communications manager at Mountain True. Something I was really excited by in the past month or so was the National Solarize workshop I was able to be a part of with some of the folks on this call. Just really exciting seeing what people are doing all over the country, and it can make it feel less isolating doing this work here in Asheville.
Yeah, so I'm David King, the energy manager at Western Carolina University. Yeah, I just think in general, lots of exciting things going forward. So excited to be part of the group.
Ken?
Yeah, I'm Ken Nelson with Blue Delta Energy. We're working in a number of areas, especially a lot of activity with renewable thermal technologies. And in fact, we just had a call today with the Chicago Wastewater Treatment District, and a lot of recognition on, how do we decarbonize elements of the economy just besides electricity. People are looking at thermal, and of course we saw the Bill Gates book come out where he's talking about cement and other building materials. So, and I think there's a lot of momentum beyond just the electricity consumption. I think we're really starting to look at the broader emissions from throughout the economy, which to me is really exciting.
Dave?
Yeah, I'm Dave Erb. I'm an automotive engineer, recently retired college professor, spent about 30 years teaching, but my whole career, 40 years, was as an automotive engineer, specializing in electric and hybrid vehicles. And it seems I've spent the last couple of days helping my more progressive friends counter the people who are telling them that all the problems in Texas are because of the windmills. So
I think we've all spent a little bit of time on that. Let's see, is Brownie here? Don't see,
I'm here. I'm Phelps from Sugar Hollow Solar, and yeah, just happy to be here.
great. And I think that leaves Jason if he's here. I also don't see his name. Well, great. Well, that's the committee. Of course, there are a lot of other people here, and during this meeting, we are going to go through the agenda. I hope you've all had a chance to look at the agenda. During the January meeting, we had a discussion on how we wanted to address public comment, where in the meeting it would fit. And I thought this meeting we would try, when we get to each agenda item, we as the committee can speak about it. And the end of that agenda item, then each, if there are individuals who want to talk and give us public comment about relevant things, we could do it at the end of each agenda item. And then again, at the end of the agenda, if there's something that we don't have on the agenda item, we'll discuss it then. And just want to try that this time. And if it doesn't work well, we'll just change it next meeting. And if you are making a comment or if you're presenting, it'd be great if you have the bandwidth to both use your camera, and if you have anything to share, I think Sophie or I as hosts could give you permission to share things.
Yeah, you'll have to make anyone who needs to share their screen a co-host, and you can do that by right-clicking on their name or face and say make co-host.
Okay, great. Well, the first thing on our agenda is to approve the January meeting minutes. And do we have any discussion about those minutes? Any comments? Yes, no, maybe. If there are no comments, does anybody want to motion to approve the minutes?
so moved.
A second?
Second.
So everybody who wants to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so the meetings are approved as submitted. And I do want to thank, I guess Bridget put those together. I really appreciate the high quality of minutes that we've been getting. They're very easy to follow, very organized. They make sense to me. So thank you for that.
Yep, that's Beatrice. I mix up their names sometimes too. Beatrice.
Great. All right, for the second agenda item, third agenda item, we've been discussing the charter and at the last 3 minutes, and Eliza has been working on. So if Eliza, you could lead us through this section, that would be great. If you want to share a screen, I will add you as a co-host.
I think Sophie was going to share her screen. Could we do that?
Okay, that'll work.
Yeah, sorry. I'm really sorry about this, but Keith, when I made you host, I think it took it away from me. So I'm happy
Alright.
to do that, but you need to make me a co-host again.
All right. Okay, I think I made you a co-host.
Okay, sorry about this, folks. Here we go. All right. Can folks see this, the editable charter?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. And you just tell me to scroll and I'll follow
Okay.
you.
So yeah, hopefully this shouldn't take too long. I'm just trying to wrap this up because we had some discussion, but we didn't finalize things last time. So really, I want to see if there are any outstanding concerns with the edits that we have in here. I feel like we could just start with this purpose statement because it's ahead of us or right in front of us. So are there any questions or concerns about the edits that we have in here? Okay. Can you scroll back up just for a second?
Mhm.
Okay. I was just wondering a little bit about other energy partners being added in here. I feel like that's captured in the utility member section below. And I feel like the purpose is really kind of the founding members. So I was just wondering if someone could explain that to me.
Well, I just thought it was nice that adding the capacity to add other members in the future it doesn't necessarily need to be in the purpose of the team but as long as we have that flexibility to add other members in the future, it sounds good. If you think that's covered in the utility section below, then that should be adequate. So it doesn't necessarily need to be there in my mind.
Okay, that works for me. I guess I would have a slight preference for taking it out, but I'm also fine with it. So do we have, what do we want to do here? Does anyone feel strongly really either way with having that in?
I don't feel strongly, but fewer words is always better than more words.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too.
All right, so why don't we take it out? Does everybody
Okay, so
agree?
let's take that out. And then I can make a motion to include the edits as seen here.
For the whole document or just the purpose?
Just the purpose.
Okay.
I just want to ask really quick, what is the time frame we're discussing the blue, I mean, in terms of our mission? I mean, I know 2042 is a long way in the future, but I don't think we're being engaged through 2042. But I mean, the world may very well look differently in 2042, and Duke Energy may or may not be, who knows, may not even exist for all we know. That's just, the way the world has changed over the last 20 years in the energy business. I can only imagine what the next 20 holds. So if we're taking out other energy partners, why don't we just, why do we even need to make that other statement at all, right? Well,
By statement, you mean having Duke Energy?
Duke listed even, I mean, in collaboration with, we can say Buncombe County, the city of Asheville, and other energy partners and take Duke out.
Yeah, it's because Duke Energy was a founding partner, one of the 3 founding partners of the Energy Innovation Task Force, of which the Blue Horizons Project Community Council is the next iteration of. And the Energy Innovation Task Force did a lot of planning and crafted a lot of the language in this charter. And to them, it was very important to keep the 3 partners there. But I'm open to anyone else's comments on that.
Well, if that's the case, and I'm not going to, reinvent the past, but I do know that the future in 2042 will probably not resemble 2021.
We hope.
Yeah. All right, are we ready to make a motion to approve the purpose?
I guess you should put an and Duke Energy in there if we're,
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, motion to approve the purpose. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, I should have asked for a second. I didn't do that, but I think it's okay. Great, Sophie, can you scroll down a little bit here? Okay, so that's a really small edit. I don't know that we need a whole vote about that, but that was one edit that we made. Could you scroll a little farther, Sophie? Maybe just kind of slowly go through and see if anyone has questions about the edits that are in here. Okay, any issues with this page?
I don't have any.
Okay. How about the next page? Sophie, could you scroll to the third page? Thank you. So one edit that I did have in here that I think got lost the last time in our conversation was increasing the number of members. I think we just ran out of time to talk about that before. That's something I feel like would be a really good thing for this group, especially given our current membership. So I think we're talking about interest in diversity of expertise, gender, and race, and we're stronger in some of those areas than others, clearly. So I think not capping our membership at 9 would be smart, but I also know we don't want it to get out of hand and to have too many people. So I thought that 13 might be a good balance there. How do others feel about that?
maybe should we say up to 13 members instead of making it a firm number, make it more of a flexible number?
Yeah, that
That
makes
was
sense.
going to be my suggestion too.
Okay.
So Eliza, while you're typing that, have we heard back from any of the people? I know we were going to reach out to a few people, but any new inputs on people that were interested?
That's actually one of the agenda.
Okay.
That is, yeah, C. But
I'm jumping ahead. We'll wait. Sorry, Keith.
yeah, that's all right.
All right, let's keep cruising through this. So Sophie, if you could scroll down to I guess the page after that, because there's nothing, that's just a chart. There were a few comments here about adding other members. We talked a bit about multimodal and alternative fuel transportation. I think that's a good idea to have that in there. I had added members at large just in case that maybe captures what we're trying to get at with community associations or neighborhood associations. I feel fine with either of these. Like we could take one of them out, but I just wanted to give us a little more flexibility for some more community voices that might not be in the renewable energy industry. What do y'all think about the items we have here?
It's all good.
Yeah, and I'd like to argue for keeping in both the neighborhood and community associations and the community members at large. I do think they're different things.
Okay, great. That is all the edits. Any other final thoughts on this document before we move forward?
So how often would we review this? I certainly could see as things progress over time, you could kind of, some things, we can refine this, 3 years from now, realize how to change our focus. But, is this something to be reviewed every few years, or what's the thoughts on that?
I thought, and this may be based on our discussion last time, that it is a charter which is kind of giving us guidance on how we work and whom we work with, but that we also, in a lot of ways, we get to decide that because we're new. But to me, it makes sense to have this sort of document as a working document. And, if our work and scope changes, we can adapt it to take place, because it'd be very difficult to catch everything that might be happening in the next 3 years, even, or 5 years in this document. So I think that it should be something that we can revisit when we feel need. In previous boards I've been in, they've had 3-year schedules or 5-year schedules to address their charter and business plan and stuff like that. But that was when they had started having bylaws and things like that. And we don't have bylaws.
No, I like what you said, Keith. I like it like that, to have a working document and keep, adjust it as needed.
All right, can someone make a motion to approve the new charter if there's no more discussion?
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, so it's my turn, right? Motion to approve the new charter as it is.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thanks. That was really easy.
Thanks, Eliza.
Yeah, thanks, Liza.
Thank you.
All right, next part of our charter and membership discussion is on working groups. And as we discussed in the last meeting, working groups are one of the ways we'll actually get work done, where we'll come back together and discuss it in these meetings. Some working groups will be long-term, like the tech committee. Some may be short, just a couple months, or focusing on a particular issue or even an event. So, but we had some good discussion last time. I kind of reviewed it and pulled out some of the discussions we had. And I saw there's interest in a transit and transportation group, a community facing group, something on fundraising. We didn't really talk about having that as being a working group, but it would need to be. Alternative fuel and electric vehicles, and also affordable housing. Those are ones that I picked out of that. So I guess we have to talk both about how we'll work these working groups, and then which ones we would like to focus on now and maybe in the future. So this is the time to talk.
Keith, I'd like to suggest that at least for the starter, that we not separate alternative fuel transportation from multimodal and the like. Have just a transportation as one. And if it needs to have subgroups, that's fine. But I do think that's all so interwoven that it would be a mistake to separate it.
Okay, great.
I just wanted to point out that the only active working group right now is the technology committee, and they are very active and meet monthly, and anyone is welcome to join that, of course.
So when we talk about these working groups, do we want to have a committee member or committee members choose to lead those working groups? Or, of course, anybody's welcome to be a part of those groups, but how would we like to have those working groups will work?
Well, I'll just speak to what looked like with the ITF. Working groups met as often as bi-weekly or monthly. They were often led by a particular member of the committee, and members of the public were invited and utilized in terms of the group makeup and leadership of those groups. So that's the basic structure in my understanding.
Okay. Which makes sense to me.
Keith, can you say the names of the working groups you were thinking of one more time?
So I don't know the names of the ones that were around before, but what I thought was a transit, and I think Dave is correct, including transportation and alternative fuel vehicles, creating one group for that group. We had and then there was a community facing group, one to be working with the public, getting everything out there, fundraising, and then affordable housing and social justice. I don't know, they're not necessarily the same thing, but social justice is a really big thing that's going on right now in my life. But other ones that make sense to me is actually one that's focusing on buildings, because that's a really big part of the county and the city's plans. It's mostly buildings. So I guess we've kind of decided how we'd like them to be shaped, right? You know, have somebody, one of the committee members be the chair, or a group of the committee members the chair, and they can call meetings together and with whomever and everybody who's interested to help us move forward. I don't know if we need to vote on that, but that seems like a consensus agreement. Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay.
Keith, could I make one comment really quickly?
Sure.
So just talking with Julie Mayfield, who y'all know is part of the EITF, a little bit about this charter, I understood in a way that I hadn't before that they're really thinking that our role as a council is to help these deliverables happen, the 3-year deliverables that are on this list, because Greenbuilt Alliance just doesn't have the staff capacity to do all these things on their own. And so I think as we're talking about the working groups, one way that deciding that workload, a way that could look is to kind of go through some of these deliverables and see where staff would need a little bit more support to make those happen in 3 years. I don't think that's the only way to do it, but these are all here in a list and can provide a roadmap for us.
Good.
I think we have the beginning of a microgrid group.
So I guess I don't want to push this offline because this is an important discussion that we can have. But do we want to agree as a committee to come back and address this through email and through discussions, and maybe even possibly another call before the next one to just kind of figure out where we fit, or have an online discussion about where we see our skills best used in these groups? And we can look to the charter for guidance on that. We can also reach out to some of the partners identified in the charter, because that's a great point that you made, Eliza, that our job is to help the other groups be successful, but we really need to get to know what they need a little bit better before we make these decisions.
It might also help us in determining the other members, the open slots that we have, if there are areas that, we need to, obviously we have certain, diversity areas we wish to try to pursue, but there may be other areas or other qualifications or a combination of things when we're trying to create this group.
Good. So we kind of have a path forward. And everybody agree to that path?
Yeah, I would also just ask that those 3-year deliverables, I think, deserve further examination and discussion. And that can be tied in with the discussion of working groups. And I would also push to make any meeting discussing the working groups open to the public as well, because we are trying to run public meetings here and involve and engage the community members who are passionate about this as much as possible too.
What we might want to do is come out with a proposed set of working groups and before the next meeting, and then run it by the community and have everybody weigh in as to if it represents the way to go forward.
I think that's a really good way to move forward. That makes sense to me. Whether it's through a survey tool or whatever to the PIM members, but we can work that out. All right. Any other comments on this agenda item? Okay. The next thing is see which are additional members, and well, I reached out to Andrew Mayron because who was actually here on the meeting, just to see, because I think one of the areas we've been looking for help with is affordable housing. And on my list, we haven't gotten to the agenda item, but my list about important things is how to get energy efficiency into homes who are renting, and homes, and inspire landlords to put this efficiencies into the homes. So and I invited Andrew here because this seems like the best idea to know what, if he wants to work with us and how he wants to work with us, and time commitments and stuff like that. So, and Andrew, do you mind saying something?
Certainly.
You don't have to.
No, I'd be happy to. This is all emerged relatively recently, and I think it started with a conversation with Jeremiah Leroy at Buncombe County, my colleague. I've come across Sophie several times as well, and spoke with Sophie last week, and you as well, Keith. This is emerging, and it's emerging, I think, with the rapid maturity of Buncombe County's kind of formal affordable housing effort, in terms of dedicating staff and programs, but also dedicating revolving funding year upon year, and then increasing that. And so we're seeing a real escalation in our efforts. And my conversation with Jeremiah was productive, and I think it's something that can be an analog for many of these other conversations where there's, I think, a genuine interest in both of our specific fields to integrate this work. And I think, I mentioned to Jeremiah, and I've mentioned it to colleagues, for quite a while in the affordable housing world, and conversely in the sustainability world, it's kind of been the holy grail to merge the two, and it's been difficult. The actual challenge of that has been something that often either doesn't quite link up, or is positioned as kind of a fight over resources. And that's not to say that world of limited resources is one that we still work in, but I think there are opportunities we can look to see where we can combine that, where we can, one of my factors with Buncombe County and affordable housing is to draw on outside resources that are available to be a lot smarter. I think in the kind of the institutional world of affordable housing, this and a variety of other factors have become really prominent, in terms of, broadly environmental sustainability, but equity, and transportation. All these issues interlink. I was trained as a planner, so all this feels very natural, but these connections feel very natural. I think, what I continue to say is I truly feel there's a genuine commitment from Buncombe County in terms of supporting affordable housing and sustainability, and we want to work together on this. And I'm very grateful that I was invited, and hope to stay involved. And I think through time, a lot of this is going to be the the stuff that isn't flashy. I think it's going to be linking partners, which is something that I've done with Sophie and Jeremiah. You know, finding out where work is occurring and the channels and the funding that's occurring in our world, and just being very cognizant of that, and bringing in, you know, folks from your group as well, in terms of either weatherization, smart planning, smart growth, or renewables. So I'm very grateful, you know, for the invitation, and hope I can stay involved.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. Phelps, your name is on the agenda, but I'm not sure why.
We had the I have been having some chats with Mountain Housing Opportunities, and there was a gentleman, Jeffrey Furland there, who might be a good affordable housing addition to our team as well. So
I would concur. Jeffrey Barton is, I think Jeffrey's title now is correct. Jeffrey is the director, I think, of real estate development is his title. And Jeffrey often puts together the projects in their pipeline. There's also some great colleagues he has. I think Adeline Wolf and Aaron Green are two younger folks who came in with an architecture and a sustainability background. And I think involving Mountain Housing means you're going to involve a great deal of the affordable housing activity in this region. I think Jeffrey would be a person who can tell you guys where some of the challenges and hurdles are in terms of implementing this. We have a very, very rigid world of affordable housing funding. As I mentioned, often it's something that's prohibitive for other kind of goals to be integrated. And Jeffrey can tell you kind of where they can do that and where not. I would strongly suggest bringing him in.
I mean, and yeah, just that whole organization, they're doing a lot of solar, and you know, the way their drive is to really lower operating costs, because that's a big part of keeping their housing affordable over time, you know, past the initial grants that build the buildings and stuff. Seems like it really fits with a lot of the stuff we're talking about building energy efficiency. But I have no skin in the game, other than just that opportunity came up to connect with them, and I thought it might be helpful to bring their expertise to our team.
That's great. Thank you, Phelps. That's exactly what we need. Any other comments or other thoughts? Okay, move on to item D, which is a vice chair appointment.
Well, I mean, what's the process then for these two new proposed members? Do we sit on it and think about it for the next meeting? Does anybody have a preference or guidance on that?
And I think with the Mountain Housing thing, it would just be, once we all agree we might want somebody, we could reach out. We would have to reach out to them and see who would want to make the commitment.
Well, that is a good question, though. When we want to add a member, how do we go about it? Because we all volunteered and put our application in, and we're pleased to be chosen. In this case, we may be asking somebody to join to fit one of those needs. So do we need to do an official invitation, which I'd be happy to do as the chair, but I don't want to make the decision about who. That's not my role as chair, but I'd be happy to make a formal invitation to people if we have somebody or a group we want to invite.
Why don't we vote on it at the level of a group or a person that we would like involved, and then have Keith as the chair approach them?
I think that's a good plan. And if we want to, yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
So given that, I'd like to make a motion that we approach Mountain Housing Opportunities, and I'll defer to Phelps. Did the person you talked to actually express an interest for that individual to do it or for them as a group to do it?
I worked with him a little bit. He was interested as an individual. He, you know, he wanted to kind of talk to his whole team too to see who would be the best person. And so I think we could reach out to Mountain Housing in general and go from there, you know. And I, you know, I think they're interested in helping us out.
I just want to clarify too that like Andrew also works on affordable housing, and so I feel like his name is in the hat as well. So having two representatives from affordable housing fields is going to be superfluous, but I think they would both be amazing. So I think that's something the council needs to decide. Just stating the obvious here.
100%.
I also, and I don't want to interject much. I sent a name to Keith as well. Sarah Grimes, who was just hired by Dogwood Health Trust in January, is kind of their director of housing investment. I think having someone from Dogwood, not necessarily on a committee, but present would be probably very impactful. I think they're going to put a lot of money in affordable housing for the foreseeable future. And being aware of your work is something they should probably be.
So it does sound like we just got a really good committee. Which is good. So I don't necessarily know how to move forward at this point, whether we want to make an official decision now, or whether we want to, I could talk to Mountain Housing. I could actually probably try to get everybody together in a meeting and see how, if we think that's a good way to move forward. We haven't really talked about all of it, which committees we need. So I will reach out to Mountain Housing Committee, and I can reach out to Sarah Grimes. I mean, because honestly, it's the people we want on the committee. That's really good. And just inviting somebody or a particular person onto the board. Do we want to come back to this at the next meeting and see who comes out of these discussions? I hate to push things down the road, and it's the second time I've done it in one meeting.
No, I think that makes sense, Keith. Just kind of gauge interest and reach out first.
All right.
Right. It's like realistic time commitments and all that kind of stuff, you know. Thanks.
All right. We've got a process. We've got some people that we need to talk to. Any other thoughts, comments in this section? All right. So at this point, next thing that I have on the agenda, it actually has public comment written here. And I'll go ahead, if there's anybody from the public who wants to comment about something relevant to the committee, I'll open the floor. You all can unmute yourselves.
Keith, I'm Bill Maloney, and I'm a member of the Technology Committee, along with a number of other people that are on the screen. And we've talked about Pratt & Whitney over several meetings. And as a lot of the people in the group have very good technical ideas that could help them, geothermal, solar, electric vehicles, a number of other things. At the last meeting, and after the last meeting, I talked to some people individually, and I'm not sure if our role really is to contact these people, which hasn't happened as far as I know. So we've kind of asked, well, what are they doing? Are they going to do this? Do they have plans for solar, geothermal? What are their plans for this? Will we be back into a new peaker unit because of electrical demands? And some thoughts were that maybe this group right here at a higher level would be the appropriate place, and I don't know if it's a committee or not, to contact a plant manager, a CEO, or someone when this company and other companies come to town, and there are going to be more of them, and catch this up front and make some kind of a connection, Keith, at your level or Sophie's level or Brownie's level, to connect with these people. The technology committee can provide the ideas and the support, but it doesn't seem like it's the place to really make the high level CEO or whatever connection. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. We,
I have a comment if that's okay.
excellent, Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, just in terms of the committees, I think we ought to have some kind of a strategic planning committee, or at least put that on the list of committees that we might consider. People that are really interested in developing the overall plan for and giving assistance to the effort to try to achieve the goals of 100% renewable energy for the community by 2042 or for the city and county by 2030, and developing a plan and sort of an ongoing plan document, if you will. So I would put that out there. I would also suggest that we might consider, based on discussions today, to have a council recruitment committee, just a couple of people on the council that are sort of given the tasks of building out the council, and they can report back and maybe do some things offline later on. So just a couple ideas.
All right, great. Thank you, Brad. Are there any other comments at this point? All right.
Hey, can you?
Yes.
Keith?
I can. Now I can't. So one of the things that I'm going to move on to the next agenda item. And hopefully we can come back to those comments if the mic starts working. We had an assignment basically as the committee members to look at our challenges and opportunities. And that document was public, was put on the website as part of the meeting preparation stuff. So again, I looked through it. I hope you all had a chance to look through it. And my thoughts are that we could really use this document also to kind of focus what committees we want to come up with. It also shows where some of our interests are and concerns, and there's a lot of duplicated items and a lot of expertise just expressed in this list. So I just wanted to give us a chance to discuss the document. I don't really have any goals or objectives out of discussing it, but do you have any thoughts about it?
Would you like me to display the document and then perhaps folks who have added to it can?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, so did anybody so any thoughts from the committee members about this document, what we've seen? And of course, this is also available on the website if you want to download it and look at it yourself. try to.
Sophie, maybe you've seen all of it. I think the last time I looked, there was 3 people who had contributed to it. Just, and I think the idea here, what we're trying to figure out, I think, as Andrew said earlier, kind of figure out like kind of linking partnerships. He said earlier, that I think this is one of those attempts at it, and now it's starting to make more sense as how do we fit what people are doing and to maybe we combine this with that 3-year deliverables. I think it's we're all trying to shake that out and figure out where there's overlap. But I don't know if Sophie, if you can scroll down, I didn't know if there'd be more than 3 people or if this is the best format. I'm just trying to put some things on paper to have people review. And maybe Keith, maybe we leave this open for the time being as people want to add to it, or I don't know what the group's thoughts are on that.
I do feel bad I didn't quite get to it. I feel like I have a goal of getting to it. My challenges feel like complaints, but I do think, yeah, I do have a goal of getting to it.
Well, I think that, you know, Dave, you just said something which is really interesting. I don't know if there's a way we can do this, but actually opening up our question, what are our biggest challenges and opportunities to work on right now to the wider group? I mean, these are the board people, but there's a lot of expertise in our room right now. Is there a way that we can get input and the same question, biggest challenges or opportunities to everybody who's in this general group? Is that something that we'd like to try to do and add it to our discussion? I mean, yes, no, maybe.
I mean, it's certainly, for me, it was helpful to read through your comments and Ken's comments and Dave's comments, but maybe that's just me. I'm just trying to figure out how do we kind of filter down, kind of prioritize what we want to do and kind of add that to the 3-year deliverables and form committees out of it. It's just one format, but
right,
better, and it gives everybody a chance to speak.
So let me open up the question to the non-committee people in the room. Would you like to add to this list? Would you like us to give you an opportunity to share what your concerns and opportunities that you see in Buncombe County in the area? Would you like to share that with us? I don't know if there's a good way to get a yes, no on this, but is that something you'd be interested in doing? Thumbs up, good.
Keith, on a slightly different tack here on this though, all of my suggestions were coming from a position of a retired college professor, really. I think some of our biggest opportunities are to educate and facilitate. Find ways that we can help other people do what the kinds of things they want to do anyway. And Sophie has been talking to us lately about Solarize. That's a perfect example of the kind of thing that where it's not really us taking the final step as the facilitation of other people taking the final step. And so I'd kind of like us to think in those terms where we can.
That's an excellent thought. All right, so I think that continuing to use this document to help focus our activities is a really good thing to do. And I might try to figure out, maybe working with Sophie, on how we can reach out to other people on the committee, get other people's input on this, and we can use it to kind of focus our actions as we move forward. Good.
I just want to add one quick thing too. I think not only, to build on Dave's comment. I think also it's a partial to collaborate and to be a resource. And I think we need to probably be having as many external discussions with other organizations around the country and other resources and trying to bring that knowledge and that other folks are learning back to the discussions. I want us to be sort of a, not, to be listening to the community, but also to be looking outside the community and trying to be that middle point, if you will.
Excellent. Great. All right. So next on the agenda is partner and member updates and discussion, which first we have the tech committee up, and Ned's been reporting on that through the last few meetings.
I think John Landy is going to do a brief update today.
Great.
Sure. Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Well, you mentioned Ned, Keith, and we just one of the main updates is that after 5 years of co-leading the tech committee, Ned is deciding to take a step back. Fortunately, he's going to still be a participant and support the tech committee and all these great efforts under the BHP as his time permits. But just wanted to mention that to the group and thank Ned, obviously, publicly for all the contributions that he's provided to the tech committee and to the community at large. With that, we're planning for the next meeting in March 4th, to be a time we can discuss potential leadership opportunities for others to step up and take Ned's spot as a co-chair. And then we're also planning to talk a little bit about some of the ongoing pilots that we have underway and focus groups that the tech committee is participating in, including the cold climate heat pump pilot, which has been led by one of our tech committee members, Amy Muser, as well as collaboration with Duke Energy and Advanced Energy. So looking forward to our March 4th meeting with a couple different items planning for the agenda at that time. That's all I have for the community council. Sophie, thanks.
Great. Next, we're looking for an update on the Energy Savers Network.
I'll be happy to do that. So yeah, we're completing about 3 to 4 projects per week through Energy Savers Network. We're also in collaboration with United Community Development, and they have several clients that they're in the process of serving as well. So after, kind of a dynamic year with COVID and all that's needed to be done to be able to serve families, we're kind of back on track for meeting the goals that we set out for, which is the goal is basically 200 homes per year. And so we're, kind of at that pace now to be able to do that. And we are in the process of hiring a new operations coordinator to replace Julia Schaefer. So, yep, that's happening. The interviews are happening next week, and we have some great candidates. So we're super excited about that. We are still recruiting sponsors for Energy Savers Network. So if there's anyone out there who would like to sponsor Energy Savers, we welcome a conversation with you about that. Sierra Club is the first sponsor for ESN. And of course, the partners for ESN, the major funders are at Buncombe County and the city of Asheville. So super grateful for their support. And at this time, I believe that's about it for ESN, unless there's any questions. Well, Brad, looks like you have a comment. You're on mute, Brad.
I'm going to send out a link, but I don't know who's seen the new great video about energy savers that Buncombe County put out, but it is, I just saw it. It's like, wow, I didn't even know this was going on, but it's awesome. And it gives everybody a flavor of what Energy Savers Network does. So I'd encourage you to like, I'm going to go ahead and just send that in the chat right now.
Cool. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, the video is great. I can also send that out with the meeting materials tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you.
And the Buncombe County staff, they're the ones that put that together. We went in support with us too, but they're the ones that did the videoing and made it happen. So grateful for Buncombe County and their communications team. That's it for ESN.
All right. Well, Dave, would you like to introduce Kelly?
Yeah, there's a group of folks, totally volunteer effort, who are doing something that that I think is quite complementary to what we're doing. And so I invited Kelly Gloger here today to give a little presentation on the Asheville Buncombe Critical Services Microgrid Group. So if you can let Kelly share his screen, he has a PowerPoint.
Great, Kelly, I made you a co-host, so I'll let Sophie walk you through how to open your screen. 'Cause
Okay, do I right click on my image? Get the share screen share?
No, that's going to be at the bottom of your screen. There's a black bar, and towards the
All right.
middle right, there's a share
Okay.
screen button.
All right, let me pull the right screen up on my thing here. Oh boy, what's happened here? It looks like it's lost all the images. Hold on a second.
And then Keith, I just wanted to say we skipped over Solarize Asheville Buncombe, and I can just go right after.
Yeah, why don't you get right to that? Let me get this screen up and then I'll come back.
Sorry about that.
Okay, no, that works. So I'll give a brief update on Solarize Asheville Buncombe while Kelly is getting up his presentation up. So the main updates with Solarize Asheville Buncombe are that we released an RFP for a solar installer or multiple installers on February 1st. And that's been, I think, successful. It's gotten a lot of eyes on it, and it's generated some media. There was an article published yesterday in the Mountain Express that I was really happy with. So that's been some good publicity for the campaign. We're also in the midst of responding to solar installers' questions about the RFP, and we will be posting a response to the questions that we've received since the RFP launched on the RFP public website. I believe we'll do that tomorrow. We're still finalizing those. For those who are not familiar, we have a steering committee as well as two subcommittees. One is focused on low and moderate income solar, and one is focused on workforce development. And we're making progress with both of those areas of work. We're setting up a meeting with Green Opportunities to talk workforce development and what that can look like, and hoping to loop in AB Tech into that conversation as well down the line, because AB Tech has a PV installation certificate program that we think would be really good to incorporate, or at least get their input on how we develop this workforce development program. And then with the low and moderate income component, we're seeking funding and defining our income qualifications and outreach strategy. We are hoping to use a list of past weatherization clients that Energy Savers Network has served to be the starting point for generating some leads. And so of the 550 plus homes that Energy Savers Network has served in the last 4 years, there are approximately 130 site built, meaning non-mobile homes that are owner occupied. So we're starting there and plan to overlay those homes with the City of Asheville's energy burden map to be able to further narrow down the list. But a lot of that is, of course, still in development. The campaign officially launches April 1st, and the work's continuing.
I think I'm ready to go here. Unless
Great.
people have got some comments about what Sophie just came up with, I'll go ahead and get this shared, all right?
Yeah, so you'll click share screen, and then you can select the screen that you would like to share. It should give you a menu of every window that you have open on your computer, and you can select your
Okay.
presentation.
Here it comes. Let me get it up to full screen here. Can people see that?
Yep.
We can.
We'll put it on full screen. All right, you're gonna look at it on this smaller screen. It looks like half screen, but it'll still work. Okay, all right. So this is a short presentation about additional steps Asheville could pursue on its path to become a national climate change leader. Right? In 2020, Asheville committed to operating on 100% renewable energy by 2030. So hey, y'all, we're going to go 100% electric real soon. The question is, how do we get there? Should we follow the recommendations at Cadmus report? Should we develop renewable assets on a hub and spoke development model? Do we build microgrids with storage? Do we do all of the above? And what about resilience? The hub and spoke model, development model, has Asheville as the hub and the power lines as the spokes connecting the hub to distribute assets surrounding the city. These large assets install economically because they're generally multi-megawatt, there are few space restrictions, and once installed, they immediately lower the city's ongoing energy costs while at the same time beginning to meet our energy goals. However, the hub and spoke model has a couple of weak points. When the grid goes down, solar assets can't send their power to the city. As a result, critical services like police and fire must then operate on fossil fuel generators until the outage ends. And should there be a large-scale weather, Texas, hello, or cyber attack on the grid disrupting liquid and pipeline fuel deliveries, our last line of defense, those backup generators, become unusable. So emergency planning requires us to think about and plan for resiliency. Microgrid development is, microgrids are a practical and common sense solution for providing 24/7, 365 power indefinitely for critical services. A police and fire station microgrid could be a model for many other city properties. Microgrid development always begins with energy audits of the buildings they serve because energy efficiency investment is a low-hanging fruit and the first to be harvested. On-site solar assets produce and deliver the microgrid's power. Battery, both those of fixed and municipal electric vehicles, can be incorporated to boost the system's ability to operate indefinitely. Pre-existing legacy generators can be incorporated to add a second layer of backup security, and a software management system optimizes and maximizes the microgrid's daily energy saving. On the map on the right, it shows the city properties outlined in blue and the counties outlined in orange. The city's fire and police station is an ideal candidate for evaluating the cost and benefits of a critical services microgrid. There are three opportunities for developing on-site solar assets to power its microgrid: the building's rooftop, a parking lot about 100 feet to the east, and a second parking lot about 500 feet to the southeast. These three potential solar assets represent about 700 kilowatts of capacity and could produce just under 1 million kilowatt hours a year annually. This next series of slides will give you an idea of what these solar assets would look like once they're in place. That's the parking lot 100 feet to the east, and this is the parking lot about 500 feet to the southeast. The Critical Services Microgroup is a pro bono, citizen-led group of experienced local professionals drawn from the fields of engineering, utilities, GIS, IT, and microgrid management. The CSM Group is proposing to donate its professional services to the city as a technical force multiplier to conduct a no-cost energy audit of the fire and police station with the assistance of UNCA's engineering department's faculty and students. 2, estimate the microgrid's investment in energy production and savings. And 3, use state-of-the-art analytical software to run a variety of cost-benefit analysis for a variety of different investment strategies. When the CSM Group completes its preliminary feasibility analysis, it will deliver a comprehensive report to the city officials. The report could help the city develop its own RFP solicitation for the project, and that RFP could interest an energy savings corporation or an energy as service company in a no-cost capitalization agreement with the city in exchange for a long-term shared savings contract. One of the things I would like to do here, I'll share another screen if I can get out of this one. Stop sharing screen, let me get another one. I've got a 1-minute video here, which will give you a little, a better idea of what we've been doing outside of this one particular ask. Let me get to the right screen. Okay, let's see, it's larger. How do I get the wrong thing? How do I get this screen to come back up full size?
Kelly, you can mention that
All right.
video is
There we
also
go.
on the
Let me
website.
get this video up. One second. Well, while I'm searching for this other video, if people have any questions, I'll let both Keith and Bill Fleming to address some of the questions you might have about this. And give me a second, I'll get this other screen up for us.
Does anybody have questions for Keith or Bill?
Yeah, this is Sam. I'm curious if the fire station was part of the RFP that the city and county issued for solar on government facilities.
It is not. None of the buildings on the campus that we've been working to design a process or engagement over the last year, or none of the city properties were part of that original RFP. There is the Family Justice Center on the county part of the campus, which is getting about 265 kilowatt in the RFP, and it adjoins a building that we've engaged somewhat with the county, but we're going to give that a rest while we give this proposal for the city. The facilities that the city paid for out of their own funds for the RFP were fire stations and community centers, mostly former, I think, elementary schools in the recreation department. But the idea of there being critical services that need essential power and electricity during known events that will happen again. We've already had things like hurricanes and other types of events in the past, and the fires that were demonstrated in Gatlinburg about 4 years ago are the type of thing that can lead to extended power issues. And so we want to be proactive and get the city and county to demonstrate leadership, as well as go beyond the 50% of the net metering that you can do without giving free electricity to Duke Energy from your own power supply. So you get to
essential.
Okay, Kelly's ready.
All right, I'm almost ready here. I just got to now get back to the meeting screen. Okay. And I'll share the screen. Let me figure out which one it is. Okay, this is our website here, and you'll find these videos here on the website, but we'll play it from the website because that'll be easier for me to do. And off we go.
Throughout the nation, essential public services, police, fire, wastewater treatment, drinking water, airports, and hospitals all rely on the availability of electricity. The electric grid can be disrupted by a wide variety of natural disasters, like wildfires, floods, and hurricanes, as well as physical and cyber terrorism attacks. Microgrids can protect communities from these grid disruptions. A microgrid is a group of facilities that are electrically interconnected, managed as one unit, and equipped with distributed generation and storage resources, like rooftop and canopy solar, traditional generators, fixed batteries, and those of electric vehicles. Microgrids are designed to provide power when the grid is down. By planning and developing critical public service microgrids, communities can continue to provide their residents with essential public services during long-duration grid outages and fuel shortages. In addition, these microgrids also lower a community's daily energy costs and create well-paying jobs. A volunteer group of professionals in engineering, energy, utilities, IT, GIS, and microgrid management has developed a conceptual plan for a public services microgrid for a cluster of 45 city and county public buildings located in downtown Asheville, North Carolina. We'd love for you to learn more about this innovative plan by checking out our website or contacting us directly at info@avl-microgrids.com.
Okay, just to let you know that at the website, there's actually a 14-minute additional video which goes into much more detail than that little teaser. And there's also a 25-page document which with maps and charts and graphics and all kinds of things, which I think you'll find interesting if you have the time to look into it. But what we would like to have your group help us with is we want to bring this to the city of Asheville and really get their approval to allow us to use UNC's engineering department and their students to conduct a full top to bottom energy analysis, energy audit of the fire and police station. That engineering department has already picked up a couple of analytical tools for analyzing when would be the right time to invest in batteries, how big, how much solar should go in, what those kinds of energy improvements in terms of efficiency would do. Basically run a whole series of economic models to look at, well, is this a smart thing to do? Does it save money? How much does it cost? When we should do it? And those sorts of things. So that's really the focus of our group right now. But again, we're thinking in larger terms, long-term terms. We'd like to see the detention center. I mean, what happens if the power goes down and all those people, they're going to let them out of the detention center to the street? These are the kinds of issues. And that's not to even consider, like, what about our wastewater? What about our water? Right now, if you look, what's going on in Texas, nobody's got water. They can't flush their toilets. They can't cook. In addition, when the power goes out, when it really goes out, everything goes out. And even the gas lines into this city would go out if those compressors, which are driving it, go out. So these kinds of issues, I think, are important for every city throughout the country to start thinking about as a national development plan, that we at least, make sure that we've hardened all of our critical services so that they can run honestly 24/7, 365, uninterrupted, indefinitely, without delivery of any kind of fuel. That's where I think we need to start going for the future here for the country.
So this is Rick. Can I jump in on something?
Sure.
I think there's some real opportunity here for a synergy with Duke Energy, because that we've had in the tech committee, we've had folks from Duke come and present about batteries and their learnings to date, which I'm sure are beyond where we were even a couple of years ago when we last heard from them, or a year and a half ago. And they had already figured out that the optimal position for batteries was at the terminal substation. And it has to do with a lot of reasons, but it has to do with grid capacity, as well as, for example, that provides maximal sustainability and islandability if implemented for exactly what you're saying. The study you're talking about doing, I think, is perfect. But I'm not trying to negative that. I'm just trying to say there's opportunity maybe for this to become a pilot project with Duke, and maybe even just become like one of their next batteries, putting a battery downtown in Asheville at whatever the substation is around there, which I'm not sure what substation is serving that, would be brilliant. And well, you've really raised some very important points, like the jail. I mean, it's really bad if power goes down in a building like that. So they have generators, I'm sure, but I think the point is perfect. And I think Duke is moving in the direction of realizing the value of the batteries. And I think there's really significant synergy that should be sought.
Let me say that's a great idea. And the example where other Duke affiliates in other states have actually invested in batteries to be able to provide both grid services 365 days a year, but be able to island and provide backup power for emergency shelters and other critical services, in areas that are, known to have hurricanes on the horizon and perhaps even increasing ferocity. So being prepared is something that we hope that we will be able to partner with Duke and to do this in a way that actually helps protect public health and safety during the most difficult times that we can prepare for and imagine needing to be prepared for. So I completely agree with what you just said. I would say that what we hope to do is be able, we already have the granular data for 365 days a year for the load in 15-minute increments, the load and the energy consumption for the Family Justice Center. And the engineering department has already pulled that raw data into Homer, which is a software program that many people already know about. We'd like to get that granular data from the meter that actually came from Duke Energy for the police and fire stations, so that this semester's seniors at UNC Asheville's mechatronics program, in cooperation with their faculty, would be able to do some real life analysis and learning. So not only are they preparing for their own futures, but they're helping us to prepare for our future. And that could be done in the near term with cooperation from the city for that level of information. And it takes 15 minutes to get that data if the meter had been in place for the last year from Duke, which it was for the Family Justice Center, but not for the detention center.
And we don't know how many of these critical services like water, sewer, the jail, the health and human service buildings, we don't know at this point how many of those buildings are actually collecting that 15-minute interval data. There's a little bit of an expense to do that, but it's small potatoes. For the detention center, it's $1,000 a year. But what it does is when you have that data set, then you can really hone in on the economics and make some, very informed and insightful and precise evaluations about where to spend money, when to spend it, and how to spend it. And so it would be great if your group, which has sort of the ear of both the county and the city, to bring this issue up, that it's time to start metering our buildings, because batteries, we know that the electrification of the transportation sector is driving this whole R&D and battery chemistry, innovation in terms of manufacturing. We know batteries are going to be going down. They've already dropped 88% in the last 8 years. So that trend's going to continue. And every building in this town, whether it's a substation, which is a great idea, or if the substation's got, a long way between where it is, where we could site batteries and where it's going to be used, most buildings are going to have some sort of battery backup. And, there's other things besides just being backup. I mean, that also helps with demand management, because we get charged, the city gets charged, based on its highest kilowatt draw over the course of the year and sets it into a certain rate category. If we can have that draw be taken up by the batteries, then we save money there. So there are many, many reasons why batteries are going to really be a big part of our future. And it's time to start metering these buildings now, because it takes a year to get a data set that you can use that really gives you the information that you need to perform the analysis.
Thank you for that presentation, Kelly. And I made note of that. Of course, I don't know the answer to the questions that you asked, but we can certainly try to work as a group to find some of those answers. And well, I saw Dave, you're on the group with them, correct?
Yeah, I sit in on all their Friday meetings.
Excellent. So we can certainly try to help find those answers, and hopefully, and if we get those in writing, what you need, that would also be helpful, whether you can send it to Dave and then have Dave. But
just want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen and encourage you to go check out our website. A lot more information there. And, we look forward to working with you, the city and the county, moving forward, in the future here.
Great. Well, thank you. Next on our agenda, we've got a follow-up from David King's presentation from the last meeting on building tune-ups. And
Thanks, Keith. So would you be able to share my screen? I just have
I
one.
will.
Yeah, I can share that one pager you sent
I
if you'd
won't.
like.
I can do it in less than 45 minutes this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to go ahead and share that one pager?
Yeah, that's all. It's just the last page, and I've got it here too. Either way, whatever's easier for you.
Is that it?
Oh no, I'm sorry. The from the presentation.
Oh, okay. Let me pull that
I've
up.
got that handy if it's easier for you.
So, Dave, I think I made you a co-presenter so you could bring it up.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Just give me a thumbs up if you guys can see that. Okay. So I think Kelly, I really appreciate sharing that microgrid. You couldn't have provided a better segue because one of the takeaways I had, one of the recommendations I had was for additional metering. So and it sounds like I'm not sure. I don't know the folks at the city and the county yet. I certainly want to get to know them better, but I'm sure they already have a lot of this fantastic data. But I wanted to just real quick follow up and kind of get some things we can move forward on, whether that's, I think personally, my biggest challenge is trying to fit, okay, here's some things I know have worked on our campus. How do we kind of fit this into the Blue Horizons group and where does this fit and how do we put this into a committee or is this a deliverable? That's what I'm kind of leaning on you guys for. So, but one of, just the kind of 5 takeaways is, and I'll just say this again, buildings waste on average 30% of their energy. If your power plant's only 50% effective, then that means you're wasting 60%. So one suggestion I would have, is to reach out to the city of Seattle. I mean, I think they are doing a fantastic job with benchmarking and pulling in all that metering data to help identify projects for demand side management. So no, I don't know if that's something that Keith or Sophie would do, or I'm certainly glad to assist on that, or if they would even do like a short webinar with us or something that'd be open to the public. And then the second thing, I've already mentioned this before, just kind of working with the city and county people to kind of identify those bigger target buildings that they're having that are the most expensive buildings. Do they have meter data? Would it not only be a candidate for demand side management, but for the microgrid project just mentioned? The third item, this building tune-up report. I'm actually working with a group in town. I've shared this recently, and I'm going to meet with a group, and it kind of overlaps with work we're doing at Western anyway. So that's something I can just kind of provide as needed. And so working with a group in town, we'll kind of refine it, find what's useful to them and not. The fourth item I had here, many of the buildings, in Buncombe County, especially as you get away from the city, are smaller than 10,000 square feet. So what's a cheap and affordable building automation solution for them? That's just going to do the basics. Can you put scheduling on it? Can it track temperature and humidity? And I'd be glad to lead this as a group, or maybe it's part of a tech group. It's, again, that's what I'm trying to figure out. How does this all fit? And I've already said the piece on benchmarking. So I guess I'm putting out there to the group what they identify with, what they kind of want to give a thumbs up on, and what we should move forward on. I'll leave it to the group.
I think, this is Chris. I think the building tune-up and benchmarking idea is pretty stellar, and certainly some municipalities have seen fruits from those labors. But from what I understand, I don't think the city of Asheville can do anything in terms of mandating anything on any private business. We can certainly do it for the, city-owned buildings, but because of state law, I'm not aware of anyone in this state at the city level having the ability to do that program. Based on what I understand after conversations with Bridget and the rest of the city team.
This is Sophie. I'm not officially a council member, but I would be really interested in knowing what the most expensive city and county buildings are. And just, I'm sure that that data is available from some of our partners, and perhaps that could be a focus of, you know, some attention in terms of reducing that cost or looking at building automation for those. And I think it's always fascinating to get, you know, shared lessons learned from other cities. So I think, David, if you wanted to make contact with the city of Seattle and they were willing to come and present at a future meeting about that, I think that that's well within the scope of the work that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, sure. I'd be glad to reach out and copy yourself and Keith and others on that. Yeah.
This is Rick. I mean, you know, I just want to say, if this isn't an independent project under the Blue Horizons, then the tech committee is a great place for this, because we are nerds working on this stuff. And, you know, I mean, I like low cost BAS. You know, there's things like Sedona out there, easily adaptable to, you know, any building sort of by snapping your fingers, very low cost. And so there's a lot of progress that could be made on this. Maybe some test models we could, if you know of places who want to get going. I mean, there's certainly people who would be interested in seeing this happen. Let's say it that way. Move forward. But that's not the only solution. That's just if there's not another home.
I agree with starting on city and county buildings, as Sophie mentioned. I think we have those relationships now. I think that's key to our mission as a community council. So looking at this list, that second bullet really excites me.
So are any of the city and county folks on the phone right now, or that they can kind of weigh in if they have some of that data or not, or if they need additional metering?
Hi, this is Amber Weaver. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'm with the Office of Sustainability for the City of Asheville. I've hopped in a little late because I was in another meeting. We do have data for energy data for our buildings, but I also think I'm hearing a couple of different questions on what we are and are not able to do. So yes, I believe both the city and the county have access to our energy data. The point that Chris was making, I believe, was that the state doesn't allow us the opportunity to ask for energy data or make requirements on public buildings that are not our own. And so I'll stop there. And I think if you have more specific questions, we can ask Bridget Herring, the energy program manager, to kind of help with some of those questions. I also would just want to remind folks, like, I also think this is the arena for folks to work on what we can do community-wide. So I would just keep that in mind as well.
Thank you. So it does sound like we have a lot of enthusiasm over this. We've got people who are willing to crunch data if we can get the data to help the project move forward. That's all great. It's really nice how those two, the building tune-ups and the microgrids, kind of sync together. I like that. So the last thing we have on the agenda is the residential and commercial energy efficiency.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about this. I've been meaning to for the past 4 meetings, but we have either run out of time or space on the agenda. I just wanted to relay just some of the work that Blue Horizons Project is doing. And, you know, our bread and butter since the program launched in early 2018 has been what are the resources available for residents and businesses to become more energy efficient or adopt renewable energy in a nutshell. So, we have this website, we've got links to resources such as the Duke Energy Efficiency and Demand Response and solar programs, but what that's looked like in the past year has been pretty different because of COVID. So we've moved a lot of our outreach and engagement online and have been utilizing our social media channels, with a huge thanks to Beatrice for really taking that by the reins since she joined us in the fall of 2020. We are planning a new one-on-one energy consultation service for homeowners or renters, but residents is the focus, to essentially do like a home energy walkthrough and offer advice to residents in town in Buncombe County. So we're building out that program right now, but just trying to think about what we can do that's virtual and still safe while we get COVID under control as a nation and a city. Additionally, commercial outreach has been a little bit slow to ramp up, but we are excited to be partnering with South Face Institute from Atlanta as a partner to help us design really a robust commercial energy efficiency outreach and solar outreach program that we can, once we have leads, really talk to businesses about really what's possible and keep it within the framework of the clean energy goals of our region. So thankful to Jeremiah with the county for connecting me with the Buncombe County Tax Records Office. They are doing a big data pull on every single property owner and manager in Buncombe County, of which there's like 130,000. So that'll be a big data set to work through, and South Face will be helping with that. And then we're also just going to be developing materials and a pitch for engaging with commercial entities. So I think that the community council can and will definitely play a role in identifying and prioritizing some of these leads, because it may be that somebody at one of these companies that we decide to target first in the process. But a lot of the work for the next few months is going to be setting us up for when we can do more in-person meetings for both residential and commercial. And one of these days in the next year, I hope this actual meeting will be in person one day. And I'm looking forward to that. Again, on commercial, we've done some sort of ad hoc outreach and consultations with a couple of entities in town. One has been French Broad Chocolate, which has been a lot of fun to get to know them and their energy needs. They're in a place where they're growing so fast that they don't have a lot of time or resources to focus on energy, but it's something they really care about. And they are a certified B Corporation. And a component of getting that certification is managing and benchmarking your energy use, which is really cool. Another has been a just conversation with Green Sage Cafe. And then most recently, we are in consultation with Homeward Bound, which is a homeless services agency locally. And they are going to be purchasing the Days Inn on Tunnel Road. That I'm sure you may have seen that in the news. It's a very exciting project, and we've been able to do consultations with them on how to make the renovation of that facility that was built in the 70s more energy efficient. And it's really exciting, and we're pulling in Energy Savers Network for weatherization work possibly, as well as waste reduction partners, Land of Sky Regional Council waste reduction partners, to do a comprehensive energy audit potentially. But we know that there are loads of opportunities, and this will eventually be 85 units as well as office space. So that relationship is just getting going. But just wanted to talk a little bit more personally about the work that we're doing that you may not get to hear about all the time. So, and Beatrice, if you've got anything that you'd like to add, I think I covered a lot. Great.
I don't have anything to add on that. Thanks. I think you did a great job.
Thanks.
Yeah, Sophie, that's exciting to hear about South Face. For those of you who don't know them, it's a fantastic organization. So I'm sure they have some good lessons learned they can share. So that's great.
Actually, one thing I do want to add is as we're trying to do more with our social media and online outreach, I really encourage you all to interact with our outreach efforts, like the Facebook page, Instagram page, etc., because that really does increase the viewership that we're getting. Yeah, so as we launch the Solarize page and with the Blue Horizons page, try to interact with them, once a week if you can. Be great.
Oh, you're on mute, Keith. Keith, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. So this is the last part of our agenda. We have another opportunity for public comment, but I do want to thank everybody for speaking up and sharing things that are important to us all. Do we have any additional public comment? Go ahead, Steffi.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys reach out to farmers at all and to discuss carbon sequestration and or leasing their land for solar projects. There's been a lot of buzz. I work a lot with the farmers, and I'm having my third meeting with Farm Bureau soon on this very subject, and have learned a lot about carbon sequestration and how farmers can really sequester quite a bit of carbon. It's the strongest way to sequester carbon, but also get paid to do so, to encourage them and reward them for their efforts. And then also for the clean energy transition, they have lots of land, and energy companies need land. And there's a way, I'll put in the chat a bunch of links to like the federal bill in Congress, which is supported by the Farm Bureau, Nature Conservancy, EDF, Farmers Union, amazing groups, and will pay large farmers for carbon credits. There's one for small farmers called NORI. There's a cover crops premium discount program that was implemented in Illinois that paid farmers to sequester carbon. There was farmers using solar to boost revenues and help provide land for energy companies where they can raise the solar panels and allow the farmers to also grow and farm underneath the solar panels. So it's a win-win for both. I just was wondering if you guys had ever thought about that outreach and maybe forming a committee to do that outreach. And if that was the case, I would love to help lead that, because I'm already in talks with the Farm Bureau about it.
Thank you, Steffi. That's certainly interesting. I don't think it's anything that we discussed already, but we certainly will add it to our list.
Yeah, I think it's an important discussion to have. I think the farmers need to be a part of this. They are responsible for some pollution out there, and when you can get them to move to regenerative agriculture and covering their crops versus using pesticides, it's going to be better for the water, as well as helping us to sequester carbon and move to the clean energy transition with solar as well, and getting them paid in the process, getting them to move, because it's hard on their bottom line to do so. But they should be a part of this discussion. So I thought that was a hole in all of this that was missing. I think we should really engage with them more on.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
See that, Beatrice, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to comment, even though it feels a little awkward that I'm also on staff. So I appreciate the chance to talk here. I just wanted to, bring us back a little bit to the discussion of adding more members to the community council and, what that might look like. And I just wanted to maybe ask the group to consider why outreach has not been successful to people that we are interested in having on the group, in the council, and just point out that it isn't random why a certain group of people would turn out why a group would turn out to have the makeup that it does, and maybe ask if the council would consider getting some like equity training from one of the wonderful equity trainers that we have available in the Asheville community, and just consider how we might make like this a more friendly space to invite people into before we continue to do that outreach, and just like really being thoughtful about creating a space that is more inviting maybe than it has been in the past. So that's my comment.
Since I can't invite everybody to my house to have a beer. That was a joke. Brad, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to second Beatrice's great comment, because, you know, my general reaction to what does this council look like versus the Energy Innovation Task Force, which in and of itself really had a long way to go to be more diverse. And this is kind of a group of an army of the willing, or whatever the word is. You know, there's so much expertise on this group in terms of the technical side of things and the interest in moving solutions along. And we need to leaven that with the broader community and people who would bring a better outreach or knowledge or connections or outreach to the community as a whole. Neighborhood associations or representatives of different groups, racial or ethnic groups, or income levels, because so much of this is not just in what we need to do, but in how we're going to get the community to do it.
Thank you. So do we have any additional comments? We still have 11 minutes by my watch, but we don't have to use them, but we're welcome to.
Rick, just wanted to mention, you know, the social media. Beatrice, you're mentioning you're doing social media reach outs. Just please be sure to include those links in kind of an obvious way in the emails that come out, because we'd like to help just post things and respond and whatever.
Thanks.
Do you mean in newsletters, Rick? Do you mean include that information in the newsletters that we send out?
That's what I was saying. I'm sorry if you have already, then my apologies for not like tuning in, but you know.
Yeah, I think what Beatrice is saying, like we post things and share things on social media almost every day, and we send newsletters, I'd say at most every 2 weeks, but usually once a month. So in our newsletters, we may highlight one of those things that we've posted, like the little video interview series that Beatrice has been working on with community members. But as far as like the day-to-day interaction, you would have to go on Facebook.
No, that's not what I meant. I just meant like a little section that says, don't forget to check out our social media.
Yeah, that is in there, but we'll make it more prominent for sure. Thank you. Good feedback.
I feel like we brought up a lot of items that we kind of talked about coming back to, but I just want to make sure we all are kind of keeping track of those things, like what is happening in between this meeting and the next one. I'm happy to support that in any way, but like with the working groups, for example, is the next step on that would be that we're going to have another meeting to talk about just that. Because we could do that a little bit right now if we're all here.
Right. I mean, I've been taking minutes, and so the groups that I heard mentioned were clearly the technology committee is active, but on alternative fuels one, a community facing or engagement group, fundraising, microgrid, and then affordable housing and social justice, with the acknowledgement that those are not the same thing.
Go ahead, Rick.
I just wanted to reiterate Bill's point. I didn't hear anything there about Pratt and Whitney and about future efforts. Not to say it's not an urgent thing, whatever, but just this whole thing about Pratt and Whitney in particular, and making sure that going forward, we're starting to get integrated with the business development groups, whoever they are, so that we're not inviting people to come here and be part of our community if they're not going to be part of our community in this energy movement. And I really think, again, that's just making the effort, because I don't know if you've noticed, but since the inauguration, the whole topic of renewable energy and the progress and speed is accelerated. And so it's just a question of making sure that we're not being victimized by the uninformed old school engineers who are stuck in the mud and not doing these things that are already cost effective. And so we just want to make sure that we create the avenues to be in these people's face in a positive way. Because I mean, at this point, there's ample material to show that this stuff, I mean, there's a report just posted out last week or two, you know, that showing that the EU will be zero carbon by 2050 and at a profit, you know, and the same thing, Bloomberg here. There's all kinds of mainstream media news on this now, that this progress toward zero carbon is at a profit. And so we just need to make sure we're not the victims of the old school engineers. And that's something we're gonna have to work on and get in with the business development types. Hopefully with Pratt and Whitney, but certainly with everyone after.
All right, thanks, Rick. Peter?
Yeah, if I could chime in, and forgive the background noise, I tried to do some electrical taping on my earphones. Anyway, I want to second what Rick just said. You know, on the heels of the efforts over the last 50 years cleaning up our water, the success story was we had to do it because there was an act that made us meet requirements. We don't have that. To some extent, we have the Clean Air Act, but we don't have that bludgeon that forces people to meet certain standards and criteria. But what we can do is communicate to anyone who's going to build a new structure. Here are our goals. What can you do, or do you intend to do to meet those? Pratt and Whitney is a good example. You know, the tech committee is working on how we communicate that to them and get some feedback as to what their plans are. And I guess there's been some progress. I just want to say in support of what Steffi Rausch said, we can't leave the farmers out. Part of what we did over many years cleaning up water, we reached out to farmers, and you know, they are the stewards of the land, and they were very important in terms of providing us with what we need for food. And it relates to, they pollute the water as we all do, they pollute the air as we all do, but if you give them guidance and tell them what to do, they're one of the first to get right on it. And I really like the idea of farming under solar panels if you got farmers to do that. So I just wanted to throw out some support to what Steffi said. We really have to bring the farmers into this. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Peter. So do we have any other comments? And I'm not, so Eliza will make sure that we send out some, I don't think we have time to discuss that now, but we'll make sure I'll send out something, or Sophie will send out that sets out our next steps on a lot of different issues. And hopefully soon.
Yeah, I was just thinking that would be a great idea. So we're all clear. I'll go through the notes tomorrow and send out what I have understood to be the next steps.
Great. Great. Well, thank you for enduring my first meeting as chair. I hope it went well, and thank you for all your input. And we will see you in March, if not before.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Stay safe. Stay safe.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
March 18th. See ya.
Bye.